In a quiet village surrounded by rolling green hills, there lived a girl named Maya. To outsiders, her life seemed idyllic, a place where the air was fresh and the days unhurried. But for Maya, life was anything but peaceful. Maya was born with a stutter, a speech impediment that turned every word into a struggle. Conversations, even the simplest ones, felt like trying to climb a mountain in the dark. At school, she became the target of relentless teasing. "Spit it out, Maya," her classmates would jeer, their laughter ringing in her ears long after the school day ended. At home, her family loved her, but their patience often wore thin. They didn't mean to hurt her, but their frustration added to the weight she already carried. By the time Maya turned 12, she barely spoke at all. Silence became her shield, her way of avoiding pain. But deep inside, even in her quietest moments, Maya nurtured a secret dream. She wanted to speak freely, to tell her story, to be heard without fear or judgment. One evening, everything changed. Maya sat alone in the small living room of her family's home, flipping through the few channels on their old television. Suddenly, she stopped, captivated by the image of a man on stage. He spoke with power and confidence, commanding the attention of a large audience. But it wasn't his charisma that struck her. It was his story. The man shared how he too had struggled with a stutter. He talked about the years of ridicule and doubt, and how he had fought to overcome his challenges. Now he was a celebrated speaker, inspiring others with his journey. Maya's heart raced. For the first time, she saw a glimmer of hope. "If he can do it," she thought, "why can't I?" The very next morning, Maya stood in front of the small, cracked mirror in her bedroom. She took a deep breath, opened her mouth, and began to speak. The words didn't come easily. Her tongue stumbled, her voice faltered, but she didn't stop. Every morning and every evening, she practiced. She read aloud from her school books, imitated speeches she found on television, and recorded her voice to track her progress. It wasn't easy. There were days when frustration brought her to tears, when the weight of her struggle felt unbearable. But every time she thought about giving up, she remembered the man on stage. She reminded herself that the journey might be long and hard, but it wasn't impossible. Months turned into years, and little by little, Maya transformed. By the time she turned 18, she was no longer the girl who hid behind silence. Her stutter hadn't completely disappeared, but it no longer controlled her. Instead, it became a part of her story, a story of resilience and courage. When her school announced a national speaking contest, Maya saw her chance. The idea of standing on stage in front of hundreds of people terrified her. Memories of her classmates' jeers came rushing back, and doubt whispered in her ear. But another voice, stronger this time, reminded her of how far she had come. The day of the contest arrived. Backstage, Maya's hands shook as she clutched the microphone. Her name was called, and she stepped into the spotlight. The lights were blinding, the audience a sea of faces, all waiting for her to speak. For a moment, fear threatened to paralyze her. But then she remembered every word she had practiced, every tear she had shed, every moment of doubt she had overcome. She began to speak. Her voice wavered at first, but with each word she grew stronger. Maya didn't try to hide her stutter. Instead, she leaned into it, using it to emphasize her story's raw honesty and emotion. She spoke of her struggles, her failures, and her triumphs. She shared how she had learned to see her stutter not as a weakness, but as a symbol of her resilience. When she finished, the room was silent. For a moment, she thought she had failed. But then, a single clap broke the stillness. Another followed, and then another. Soon, the entire auditorium was on its feet, cheering and clapping for the girl who had turned her greatest challenge into her superpower. Tears streamed down Maya's face as she stood there, overwhelmed by the realization that she had done it. She had reclaimed her voice, not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever felt silenced by their struggles. That day marked the beginning of a new chapter for Maya. Her story spread far beyond her small village. She was invited to speak at events around the world, inspiring millions with her journey. Her message was simple, but powerful. No matter how broken or defeated you feel, you have the strength to rise, to rebuild, and to become unstoppable. Maya's voice, once silenced by fear, had become a beacon of hope for others, and she vowed never to stop using it to light the way for those still finding their strength.